Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Hero by Night, Second Breath. Our scene finally brings together the entire Wave family. The short skirts, long swords, Wu, a conglomeration of like-minded individuals, yet inherently and intrinsically different individuals. Our scene starts on the roof of the hospital, where Fu sits just on the ledge, looking out over the city, wondering about a great many things. But we start as the Wu begins to assemble bit by bit.
Kagome and her signature McDoubles eaten from under the mask show up.
Roof of your hospital, dear. Fu takes in a sharp inhale and then shakes her head. You're still eating that garbage.
Well, yeah, it's delicious.
Can't you find anything better to eat? Anyone better to eat?
Look, I liked McDonald's back before, well, this started. It just, I don't know. As she's like munching this burger, this is the most awkward thing to watch, is her using one hand to prop this mask outward and the other to stuff burger to face while she's having this talk.
Did you, by chance, at all, reflect on your failure the other evening?
I mean, when it hits, it hits. When it doesn't, it doesn't. It just kind of comes into your head and goes out. If I had to compare it to something, it's like when you wake up from a dream you can't remember. There's something in the back of your head that tells you you know something, but it's only there for about 5 seconds.
You had that served up to you on a platter, and you and Rin both couldn't take advantage of it.
You notice that Rin is currently approaching the scene from the side, taking every step as delicately and as balanced as any other. And from to do the top of a nearby air conditioning unit, well, the very, very light form Rin goes ahead and steps down. Well, more like leaps down, very gingerly. Looks at both of you. Failed? Or just did not succeed? Or just simply took another step towards succeeding?
I suppose it is on how you look at it, but all the same, that was a momentous occasion for both of you to step forward, and yet you remained in one place. And she'll spin around and drop her legs down back over the right side of the edge. And me, for one, I cannot stand to remain in stasis.
At this point, Akira will walk in, kind of exiting from the stairwell that leads up to the roof. Close the door, lean back on it, and observe.
I don't look at the other night and see it as failure. I simply look at the last night and see how we could do things a little bit better. Maybe not be so messy.
looks over at Kagome for that one.
Look, my first time torturing somebody. There's got to be a learning curve, right?
Goes ahead and shakes his head.
Ask Akira. Gestures towards her. She's the only one skilled at it.
She blinks. It just requires patience. That's all.
Look, what I'm saying right now is we all got this connection. We could have planned that encounter just a little bit better so that that jackass couldn't get the drop on us. But again, lessons learned. Maybe not the lesson you wanted, Fu, but the lesson that me and her had to learn.
Maybe next time, and this is just me throwing this out here, guys, we don't try to lure someone into literally their own house.
He never saw it coming, though. Too enthralled with what he was looking at.
Kagome just kind of self-consciously rubs her arm. The McDouble is long gone. They never last long. When Kagome has got her mitts on him, looks off to the side.
His taste in music sucks. I've been trying to get into it all fucking week, and it's atrocious. I can't do it.
By the way, Ren, what did you do with those remains? I mean, if I had to assume, I would say, and she'll gesture over to Akira.
It was submitted to her retainers shortly after the encounter.
They disposed of it.
I see. And she begins her walk towards Akira and sort of stops short and, rather than approaching her directly, begins to circle around her. How are we aspected tonight, Akira?
Akira watches, looks incredibly unimpressed with whatever Fu is attempting to do.
Are we aspected to the blood of the Scarlet Queen? Or are we flowing with the blood of the Ebony Dragon this evening?
Is that business of anybody but myself?
You don't play this game very well, you know.
I don't play games at all. If you're attempting to do something, I would suggest just telling me.
Well then, maybe a task is not a bad idea for a lot of us. We do have some options in front of us, my friends. We each have our own goals. We've never hidden that from one another. I have my motivations when it comes to the underworld. Kagome has hers. Ren, you remain enigmatic as ever.
You want an
And,
identity? I'll give you 10.
as I said, enigmatic as ever. And of course, you. And she stops and gets close enough behind Akira that she can actually take in the woman's scent.
She smells like a mixture of formaldehyde and cleaning products.
You still haven't made it quite clear what your motivations in all of this are, Shiogane.
Is being bored not motivation enough? I'm just watching for now. She sort of waves her hand. Entertain me.
Kagome looks visibly creeped out at this point. There's something about Shirogane that, even to someone who styles himself as a demon, someone who in life was a brutal enforcer, even amongst other criminals, that is off about Shirogane.
Akira
And
senses Kagome's discomfort and ensures that she makes eye contact with her for no less than the next minute.
well, it's on now. Kagome now has to decide who she is more scared of on this rooftop. Fu, who is always watching, or Shirogane, who is also watching.
Rin is smiling.
So now they're eye to eye. The person who looks almost alive, and I guess I should roll for how it is that Akira looks tonight in particular. P and A.
Gonna throw some life set up.
Yeah, why not? I think I have to roll for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so roll
Turn a
in
point of
Yang, I
mhm.
think. Send a point of Yang and roll my. I'm still not very familiar with all the mechanics.
Perception and I want to say empathy. Difficulty 9.
Okay.
Give me one moment and I will give you a definitive answer.
Okay.
Meanwhile, okay, so Yang. Life sight. Perception plus empathy, difficulty 9.
2 successes.
Wow.
How is Shogane aspected this evening?
Shelby doesn't know what that means.
Did she use Yin Chi to animate herself?
Yin. She pretty much always uses yin.
Yeah. Then she kind of appears as this. Everything else has sort of a life resonance to it. Like, obviously, Fu appears to be vibrant and scarlet aspected, but Yin is kind of almost a void of that, an inverse, and looks dark and cold and muted, whereas even the inanimate objects around are at least have some sort of residue on them, whereas Shogane is mute and almost has like a dark mist that lingers over her.
Corpse, inanimate, inorganic material, still animate.
Yeah, at this point, this means that, well, life and death are essentially staring at each other.
In a sense, yes.
And this
Why don't
is
you guys
held.
each make a willpower roll to see who can hold the stare down?
Okay. Alright,
Shelps?
One sec, I'm looking.
Okay.
It's 4 in the morning.
It is 4 in the morning.
Okay. Akira will continue staring, but eventually you notice she's just kind of staring into space. You can't hold her interest for very long.
When Kagome becomes cognizant of the fact that whatever meaning was in this is no longer, she just stops looking at Akira.
Doesn't stop her from staring off into the void, though.
Fu will place a hand on Shogane's shoulder. We have a choice to make.
She'll look at the hand. You're touching me.
I'm aware of where my hand is.
You're touching me, and you will stop touching me.
Fu chuckles and pulls her hand away.
Thank you.
The criminal underworld, I have my contacts within it, and we can very easily begin to build something in opposition to the Aka family, one of the premier peddlers of narcotics. I'm not sure how each of you feel about it, but I am sure I know Kagome's stance on it. I'm interested on each of yours.
Tell me about this criminal family.
Extortionists, a Oyaban of the Yakuza within Kyoto that, while not high up on the totem pole, is still enough to be influential in many prefectures. It would... They are... They're rivals, in a way, standing in direct opposition to the progress of our Wu, at least half of it. I can only imagine that our lot in this city would improve greatly if we were able to take something so influential and make it our own. Mold it in our image. She'll lean forward and whisper at Shiogane at this point. Craft it into something sterile and clean.
Using buzzwords in no way increases my willingness to help you.
Your organization. What is your organization? What is the opposition that you put up to this criminal family?
Admittedly small. Enlightenment has consumed my thoughts as of late, not my temporal goals.
So what you're proposing right here, what you want from us, what you're going to go ahead and put forward to this Wu, is that you want to go ahead and start to control the criminal underworld, and the opposition that you face at the moment happens to be this criminal family, right?
Yes.
What would be the effort required for you to accomplish your goal of taking over this family, or destroying it?
We would need at least 2 or 3 smaller organizations brought under our purview. One of which I have my fingers in, and another one that our fledgling tiger has managed to at least get biting on the hook, in a manner of speaking.
Kagome just kind of snaps for a second. There is nothing redeemable about them. They die.
Well, I can definitely tell where Gome goes ahead and falls and where her motivations happens to be. Take that thing, destroy it. Akira, what do you think of all this proposal?
I have no vested interest in the criminal underworld one way or another. If they are useful, then so be it.
And there you go, Fu. What you must bring to the table is how does you progressing in the criminal underworld of this grand city benefit the rest of us?
Aside from the prestige and favor it will win us with Sosen Kisarage, within the court itself, tell me, Shogane, where do your ambitions lie? What do you wish to gain from this city?
All I'm interested is information. If something is interesting, then I will look at it. If it is not interesting, she makes a point to be looking away from just about everybody. It will fly beneath my radar.
Well, if it's information you want, Kyoto's seedy underbelly always provides answers, if you know where to scratch it.
I do not need answers. I need questions. I need means to ends. Why would I go looking for easy answers?
Then what about the more complicated ones? Such as locations of dragon nests.
A question I can answer myself.
Do you truly think that all of them are divulged to us?
Why do you think they need to be divulged? Do you not have the patience to take a few moments to think?
Patient is not the strong suit of the tigers. You're well aware of this, I'm sure.
Yes, but overcoming your own personal weaknesses is a part of this, isn't it?
That is debatable within our Dharma.
And
You.
that does not interest me, but it interests you. You've chosen it. Find the answer for yourself.
Smile on Rin's face, points to Fu. You want to take over this city, or at least the criminal element. Points over to Akira. You're simply interested in seeing things as they are and not really willing to take any action. Yeah, fair enough. Pointing to me, I think that tonight is not one I'm going to waste here, constantly debating what this Fu ought to or ought not to do, or where our interests and our motivations simply lie. I suggest we all come up with an idea for tonight. I'm not talking about long-term plans. I'm talking about this instant, this very, very fucking instant. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do?
Fu ponders it for a moment, tapping her chin. Well, if we truly are family, I have chosen several nights over the past few. Perhaps it's time for our bone flower or our centipede to make a decision on what we do this evening.
Alright, fair enough. Let's see. The last few nights we have been terrorizing this city, being devils. How about for a change of pace, we go ahead and, well, I'm going to have to break your two hearts. Why don't we just go ahead and watch and take an example from our bone flower and see how the people of this place, this hospital, have to suffer the pangs and anguish of their loved ones, as they must see whether or not life or death, yin or yang, shall overcome the mortal coil. I believe that would be utterly fantastic and fascinating. What do you think, Akira?
Surely it would be interesting. They suffer very diligently. Always forget that the yin wins out in the end. Their hope is of interest to me.
And there you go. The devil will not be satisfied, but the flower will bloom.
Devils. Devil can stalk any night. Enlightenment comes from diversity, at least in some small part, even for us. If our dear flower cares to teach, we can learn.
And besides, wouldn't it be wonderful and awesome should you find a victim and all those other flowers that you can stalk tomorrow night, henceforth with better wisdom?
Maybe.
Subtlety and finesse is a good skill to learn.
Looks over at Kagome with a raised brow at that point. Yes, subtlety is a useful skill.
And the self-consciousness rolls over Kagome. It's odd because she wears this mask that conceals some of the more expressive parts of the human face. A lot's made about the eyes, but there is also a lot to be said about how, even the end of someone's nose, how the cheeks position themselves, the curvature of the mouth at any given time, all of that in combination. But even if you're just kind of looking at this girl from the cheekbones up, her eyes and her body language are extremely self-conscious. Fu has this habit of knocking Kagome all the way down from whatever she might have been in life to some terribly, for lack of a better term, unconfident young girl at school.
Akira,
Yes.
walk over here. I have something to give you.
She will do so.
Mm-hmm. Do you really have your hands to the sides, behind you, in front of you?
Generally behind her, folded.
Okay. Rain will go ahead and produce a slip of paper and hold it with both hands in front of her, just so that you can see it. Say, take it.
She will pluck it out of her hand using only her pointer finger and her thumb. She'll read it.
Is the address and the patient number, as well as the hospital room of a woman that is sure to be devoured by sickness. I found this one when we also found that drug dealer. I have looked at her. She is not long for this world. An hour or so. If you run, you can catch it. That moment where she fades.
Is she in my hospital, or is she elsewhere?
She could easily be transferred.
Let's roll some fate dice and see what they say.
Hmm.
4 fate dice. Well, you know, the listing and the actual billing code match up with your hospital, Akira.
Ah, she is here. I will check the patient records. We will get her room. What is it you seek to learn from experiencing the moment of Life 6 being extinguished? He says as she begins walking.
Gonna go ahead and follow and simply say, I went ahead and followed the tigers for their lessons. I have gone ahead and decided to follow the flower for your lesson. What I want to learn? Anything that's available to learn.
She nods. By far the most reasonable point of view I've received all night.
Compromise, balance. It's a very tenuous point.
Yes, I can agree
Fu.
with that.
Fu smiles at the bone flower. You knew what our Dharma was like when you stepped into this family.
I did, and I am willing to accept it so long as you follow my rules. It does not mean that I have to agree with or like it.
You could stand to be a little bit more casual.
Why?
Because you're not a crane. Cranes are insufferable.
She shrugs. You have my loyalty. You understand that. My honesty comes with it.
That I cannot deny. I'll let you make your preparations for inspecting this patient, and in time we can gather and perhaps have a shared moment of enlightenment as you do with her as you see fit.
Very well. I believe she's on the second floor. Intensive care. They know she's not long for this world.
Do you intend to let her expire, or do you wish to prolong it?
I'll have to observe her first. If she is to expire regardless, then to prolong her suffering is nothing but cruelty. If she can be saved, then perhaps the attempt will be made.
Cruelty is a knife that cuts away weakness, that cuts away.
Cruelty is that which is not necessary. Do you consider cutting away weakness unnecessary?
I consider cutting away weakness a necessity.
Then that is
For
not cruelty.
cruelty is very subjective to the person receiving it, or giving it, or observing it.
if that is what she chooses to believe.
It is.
She nods.
That way will serve you well in your dharma. Big ass fucking smile.
Fu doesn't give it too much of a moment as far as lingering on that comment. She just sort of acknowledges that Rin said it, and then turns to Kagome. While Akira makes her preparations, you and I should probably go visit our Mandarin.
Alright.
And to the fortnight we'll reconvene.
Very
I
well.
would recommend, Akira, that you perhaps spend some time in the court. Sosen has noticed that our absence has been prolonged as of late, and our ancestor will not stand for it much longer, I fear. She will want to see a showing of our Wu at the court, if not its full capacity, then at least each part individually.
I will make myself known when the time is right.
And I hope for your sake and ours as well that that time comes soon.
And if not, I can go ahead and represent us all.
Fu actually raises a brow at that.
Big ass fucking smile.
Do you feel that you're truly prepared to sit across from the ancestor?
Sit across from the ancestor. No, definitely not. However, if the only objective of such a meeting is to represent us and our wants and our needs, I think I understand the lot of you to go ahead and, make waves.
Out of character, our ancestors are Nushi, right?
The
Ancestors.
ancestor is like the fucking prince.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Akira just shrugs. I suppose out of all of us, I'm one of the most qualified to do so. What interests are we representing?
The underground, the medical, ourselves, some legal.
I will represent ourselves. I will ensure that it is made known that we have claim of the medical world, and that we are expanding into the underworld. Is that all?
Shogane, you are unique among our Wus. You are the only one of ebony blood, exclusively.
She looks at Fu. She's just waiting for a point to be made.
Do you plan on expanding your studies, your observations into the realm of the Yin world?
When the time is right, but there is much to understand about the world of the Yang. There is much to understand about the world of the dead, and if there are none to pay attention to it but I, then I am willing to make up for others' inadequacies.
I don't think that's what she was asking Fu. I believe what you're asking right now is if Akira over here goes to the court, she will not only represent the Wu's yin interest, but also that hot-blooded yang, right?
She represents us all. I trust her to do so. But I don't want us to seem too focused here in the mundane world. I also...
Sure that they know that we are striving for balance. I understand your interests, and I will not stand in the way of them. But you will not do the same. But you will offer me the same kindness.
I had no intention of any other sort.
I
But
trusted.
that,
I trusted that you didn't. I trusted that that was the case. How about that? 4 in the morning.
Fu seems satisfied with that. Kagome, let us make waves and perhaps find something to occupy us for this evening. Kagome is just so beside herself with the prospect of Fu leading her out into another venture into the city that she is totally awestruck and just unable to speak. And Fu will simply offer a bow to Ren and Akira in equal measure before disappearing back down the stairwell to head out into the streets below, leaving the other two to talk amongst themselves.
We find ourselves with very, very strange bedfellows.
We do. They're interesting enough.
Are they just interesting to you?
I don't understand what you're probing for.
My apologies. Perhaps I should be more blunt.
Please.
I find myself uniquely positioned between two extremes. And I see that you stand on the yin extreme and they stand on the yang extreme. And I do not want that to be a complication for this Wu.
How do you foresee it being a complication?
I see Fu carrying Kagome off into the wilds, burning and terrorizing the villages below, and I see you, Akira, hiding in your dark, dark chamber, performing whatever research you need to do. And I foresee a time in which these two lifestyles become utterly incompatible.
She's just waiting.
The way you go ahead and keep that silence to yourself is quite haunting. You do know that, right? In any case, yes. I want to see that this Wu is strong, and I also want to see that it is connected, and I also want to see that it cooperates with itself. Understand?
Yes. What steps are you looking to take to ensure this?
I've already seen how the devils go ahead and rampage into the night, and it's quite enjoyable. But I do not understand how you enjoy your night, that cold, quiet contemplation. I wish to understand that more, so that when conflicts do arise, I'll find a necessary balance between the two extremes.
That is fair.
I also want to see you all walk your way through your dharmas. And that way, I will drag myself along to enlightenment.
Sort of looks at her. Very, very. She looks as if she's analyzing her.
Hmm.
You rely on others for your enlightenment. Is that true?
Think about it like this, Akira. When you are standing in a hurricane, the winds blow you in all different directions, right? Well, the way of the centipede is to see yourself in every single wind, every single raindrop, and then by virtue of knowing where everything is, being balanced, directing the hurricane upwards towards heaven. So, if each one of you are like raindrops, or the winds, or the rising tide, and each one of you is currently striving towards your own enlightenment, and I happen to be in the middle of all that, I find myself risen up.
I see.
Do you find this wise, or you find it foolish?
I find it interesting.
As always, everything is interesting to you.
Is it?
If it was not interesting to you, you would definitely not put your attention to it. And if it wasn't interesting to you, you would have walked away from this entire Wu.
Indeed.
Let's go make preparations and arrangements. This is what we do best, yes? Make arrangements, make preparations.
Yes, right this way. She will also lead her back down through the door into the hospital to make said grisly preparations.
And I think they're as good place as any to establish this was dynamic at first glance, at least. Thank you all for watching.